Hello everyone, here are some more footage that I took from my camping trip. On second day, we decided to go exploring inside the forest, and it was so refreshing. A lot of greens, a lot of big trees, and I took a lot of photos, so that's why today I decided to paint the forest. There are actually so many nice photos that I just want to paint all of them. And I feel like I can make the whole sketchbook series just painting from all the photos that I took from this camping trip. Hi guys, welcome back again. Welcome to my cozy little studio. I am setting up all the tools, equipment so that we can get started with the sketchbook today. And don't forget your drink. Excuse for my dirty towels. I just keep telling myself to clean it, to wash it, but I just keep forgetting and just get lazy. Here is my sketchbook that I make myself. I think that I'm just so proud of myself for being able to make the whole sketchbook. Now let's get started with activating the paint with water spray. Here is the photo that I'm going to paint today. It's in vertical, so I will use 2 pages of the sketchbook for this painting. For this painting, I'm going to try something different. I will use my micro pen to draw a slide sketch first. I don't know if I should call this like line and wash painting, but the concept, the idea is similar because I've been seeing a lot of line and wash painting on either on Pinterest or YouTube, and I want to do something similar, even though I'm really not good at drawing. But it's just a slide sketch, like a guideline for you, so later on when you apply the watercolor it's gonna be easier, I guess. And plus the lines that you draw with the pen will make the painting has some kind of different look compared to when you only apply the watercolors. And I like that look. I think that it's like it gives you a feel that the painting is very loose, and it's like in the journal sketch when people on travel and they just make a sketch very quick and loose, and that's what I wanted to do today. So basically I want to dedicate the first page for the forest where you can see like it's like in the shadow area and there's no light, and the second page will be the forefront, which is, you can see in the photo there's such a big, very bright area, and that's where the light is. And for the most part of the video will be remained at original speed. There are only some parts at the end that I find is quite on repeat, so I decided to speed them up a little bit so you don't get bored watching. And now it's time to apply watercolors. First, I'm going to use cerulean blue to paint a little bit of a sky here. And if you look at the photo, you can see that look like the trees are all over the place. But if you look closely, you can see a bit of the sky. And I want to make sure that I have that in my painting, and they call it the sky hole. And if you have that in the painting, it's gonna make your painting has more depth. And here I want it to just have a very light value, so I am adding a lot of water here. And it's time to make some of the greens, and just like what I mentioned in the last video, I want to have a variety of greens in my painting, because as you can see, the forest pretty much is all greens. But if you just put one certain greens, it's gonna look very flat and a bit boring. So I want to include a variety of greens to make my painting look more colorful and interesting. And by the way, excuse for my very loud background noise. I actually want to leave the sounds on because I wanted you to have some kind of ASMR painting video, but it happened that my husband is working from home today, so he's gonna make a lot of sounds in the background. I hope that it's not gonna annoy you, but because my studio is in the living room. It's just a corner in the living room, and I'm sharing the place with my husband, and he's also have his working place in the other side of the living room, so it's very hard to be quiet. Now I'm moving on to the greens. At first, I'm gonna lay the first layer of greens, and it's gonna be the lightest value, and from there I'm gonna build it up and adding the medium value and darkest value. And that is like the rule of thumb for me to start in every painting. I'll always go from light to dark value. And if you see the forest, it looks like it's a lot, it's overwhelming, there's so much and you don't know where to start. But trust me, when I am painting this one, I actually have no idea where to start either. Sometimes I have to pause and look at the photo and also think that where to paint next. So don't worry if you feel overwhelmed, because that's pretty much normal. Just take a break and maybe have some coffee or tea, and then look at a photo and start to decide what is the lightest area, and then start from there. And for this painting, I wouldn't call it beginner level, because if you see the photo, you will see that there's a light and shadow area where you will have to include in your painting, and these are the things that I find quite challenging, and I'm still struggling. So I would call it probably intermediate, or maybe the highest advanced level in my opinion. But luckily this is not a tutorial, this is just a sketchbook diary, so it's just me trying to painting something that I find challenging and not really familiar with. And one of the things I want to mention is, for this type of painting, it's very necessary if you can use the wood quality, the artist grade quality paper, which is 100% cotton watercolor paper, because it's gonna allow you more time to think and do the painting. And that's why if you happen to use just the student grade watercolor paper like Canson or Strathmore, and sometimes it makes you frustrated, and I want you to know that it is not your fault. This is not because of you, but it's probably the paper. So if you can't, use the best paper. And now I'm moving on to the second layers after the first layer dry. And as you can see, I've just used the tip of my brush to kind of put a different random dots onto the paper. It's like I want the viewer to kind of imagine as the leaf of a trees. I want to communicate, oh, this is trees. Now I'm just gonna put a variety of greens that I already mixed in the beginning. If you look at the photo closely, you will see that I think that the light comes from the top. That's why you can see some of the part of the trees look very bright. It's like lemon yellow at the top. So that's why I'm trying to paint to use a very light and bright green colors on the top of the trees. I hope that everything I just explained makes sense for you. Sometimes it's very hard to explain. I guess I am just not familiar and not used to this yet, but I'm trying to improve. I actually watching a lot of professional artists doing tutorials to listen how they explain their process, and I'll just kind of take note from there. Now moving on to the bottom part, and this is where the light doesn't get through. This is in the shadow area, so I will apply a lot of dark and kind of muted green tone in this area. Now I'm going to paint the 3 trunks, and I'm going to use the brown mixing with a bit of paint grays to darken the value. And yeah, this step is kind of easy and kind of repetitive, but one of the rules that I follow when I paint this is if the trunk is up front, then it's gonna be very dark and very thick, but if it's far away, then it's getting thinner and lighter. That's how we communicate distance in a painting. Sometimes when you look at the photo, you see that they are very clear, even the stuff that is just so far away. But that's how the I would say the camera works. But for human eyes, we cannot focus everything. The human eyes, like, we will see the things that in front of us very clearly, but if things that's just far away, it's just like a shadow. So that should be applied in the painting as well. For the soil, I'm using brown mixing with a little bit of purple to make it look more colorful. And this is where the hard part comes in. This is where I have to handle the light and shadow. So if you see that there's like a big difference between light and shadow here in the photo, a very bright, look like white area and a very dark one. And I don't know, sometimes for light and shadow, I'm still learning on how to do it correctly. And one of my weakness is that sometimes I'm just so hesitant to put on colors, and I forget that watercolors, when it dries, it always dries lighter than when you just apply it. And when a layer is not dark enough, it's not gonna create contrast for the painting, and that's when the painting look a little bit flat and look like it's missing something. So I'm not sure how this painting gonna turn out, but I guess that's okay. That's the learning process, and I believe that the more you practice, the more you're gonna get better. And now for the big, very bright area where the sun hits. I am not sure. Actually, when I looked at the photo, I thought that it was white. So I attempted to leave it white. But when I looked at it later, I think that it has a little bit of yellow. It's like very light yellow. So that's why you see that I decided to add a layer of yellow here in the bright area. But yeah, I think that if I did it again, I probably just leave it white, because normally in watercolor painting, we communicate light by reserving white space. But we'll see how it turned out. I hope that it's not that bad. And yeah, so here's another challenging area that I find in watercolor painting. Sometimes when you have a photo reference and you looked at a certain area to define the colors, it's hard because of the color that's surrounding it. It can confuse you sometimes. So you may identify the wrong colors. And I guess that's also a learning process. The more you do it, the better you become. And here I'm trying to add more layers to build up to the darkest value to communicate shadow. I'm using violet, and this is the part that I'm really confused. I have to be honest, I have no idea how to make it look a little more realistic with shadow. I used to watch one of the artist tutorial that she talked about how to paint shadow in watercolor, and one of the things she said that's really it's just a light bulb moment for me is that she said shadow can actually tell a story. So if the land is kind of rough, you have to paint the shadow in the way that is, that you have the shadow will not be a straight line, but it's gonna be like a zigzag to communicate that the land is rough and it's not like a flat one. So yeah, that is very interesting to know. But yeah, sometimes when you look at the photo and you just have no idea. Well, I guess it just have to come with time and practice. And yeah, I think that the painting is pretty much done here. Just kind of add a couple things to finish up. But what do you guys think? I think that it's not that bad. And finally, I decided to use my group pen to add more lights into the painting. Just kind of having fun and doodling around, I guess. But I like the look, the combination between paint and watercolors. I think it's look very loose and a little bit messy, like you know that the artist is in the rush, so it's look kind of messy. So that's something that I like about this look. And this is a sketchbook, and it's supposed to be imperfect. It's supposed to have mistake, but I would say that in watercolors, sometimes you just have to embrace the mistake, because that is how it's make it such a unique and special. Okay guys, the painting is now complete. I'm just gonna do the final step, which is name the place and sign. I think the painting turned out quite okay. It's not that bad. And even though there's certain areas that need to be improved, but I will just take note and try to do better next painting. Tell me in the comment what you guys think about this painting, and thank you so much for watching. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel to see more, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up, because that could help my channel grow. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.